Ethan had always been curious. Even on a planet as strange and dangerous as Zarvath 9, he found a way to see the beauty hidden under the harsh skies and jagged mountains. The human colony on Zarvath 9 was small, made up of people who had left Earth searching for new beginnings. But the alien world was unforgiving. Acid rains fell unpredictably. Gravity shifted in strange patterns, and enormous creatures sometimes roamed the forests near the settlement. Yet among all these challenges, Ethan found small joys. He liked exploring, finding rocks with strange colors or watching the twin suns set behind the violet mountains. One day, while wandering near the edge of the settlement, Ethan noticed something unusual. A small figure was standing among the tall, shimmering grass. It was unlike any alien he had ever seen in the colony records. The child had large, luminescent eyes, a pale blue skin that glimmered under the sunlight, and thin, delicate limbs. It seemed shy, standing frozen, looking toward the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Ethan crouched behind a rock, observing quietly. The child didn't move, didn't run. It just watched. He remembered the stories the adults told about the Zarvathians, the native species of this planet. They were fierce when threatened, protective of their families, and rarely trusted outsiders. But this one, it didn't look dangerous. It looked lonely. Ethan thought about his own little sister back on Earth. Sometimes she would sit alone, wanting a friend, wanting someone to notice her. The same expression of loneliness was written across the alien child's face. Ethan felt a pull in his chest. He wanted to help. From his backpack, Ethan pulled out a small toy he had brought from Earth, a spinning top. It was bright red with yellow stripes, simple but magical in its own way. On Earth, spinning tops had made him smile countless times. He wondered if it could do the same for this lonely alien child. He took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the rock. "Hello," he said softly, keeping his hands empty. The alien child flinched but didn't run. Ethan knelt down, keeping his height low, and held the toy out. I brought this for you." The child tilted its head. Its large eyes widened. For a long moment there was silence, just the hum of Zarvath 9's wind brushing through the grass. Ethan didn't move. He didn't want to scare the child. Finally, the alien child stepped forward cautiously. It reached out a tiny hand, barely touching the spinning top. Then with a soft sound it pulled the toy closer, examining it with wonder. Ethan's heart lifted. He smiled, careful not to make sudden movements. "Do you like it?" he asked. The child nodded, though the motion was strange, almost like a quick flutter. Then in a surprising gesture, it spun the top. It wobbled, twirled, and then danced on the ground, leaving faint glowing streaks. Ethan laughed quietly. The sound seemed to delight the alien child. Its body shimmered faintly, and it made a high-pitched musical sound like laughter. Ethan stayed with the child for hours. He showed it how to spin the top, making it dance on the rocks, on the soft moss, even in the shallow water of a nearby stream. The child learned quickly, spinning it with skill and joy. For the first time, Ethan saw a smile, even if it was not like a human smile, but it radiated happiness all the same. But as the suns began to sink behind the mountains, the shadows grew long and menacing. Ethan knew it was time to return to the colony. "I have to go home," he said softly. The child didn't move. Ethan crouched and said, "I'll come back tomorrow, okay? And I'll bring more toys." The child tilted its head again and made another soft musical sound, almost like it was promising. Then it disappeared silently into the grass, leaving Ethan staring after it, heart pounding with excitement and a little fear. He had made a friend. When Ethan returned to the settlement, he couldn't stop thinking about the alien child. At dinner, he told his parents what had happened. They exchanged worried glances. "You must be careful, Ethan," his mother said. "We don't know the customs of the Zarvathians. Sometimes their children are protected very fiercely. If they think you're a threat, it could be dangerous." "I know, Mom," Ethan said, "but it's not dangerous. The child, it's alone. I just wanted to help." His father nodded, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Courage and kindness are human traits, son. But on this planet, sometimes kindness can be misunderstood. Be careful." That night, Ethan barely slept. He imagined the small alien child, thinking of ways to play with it again, ways to show it he was a friend, not a threat. The memory of its glowing eyes stayed with him. He didn't know its name. Maybe it didn't have one humans could say. But the bond was there. The next morning, Ethan woke to an unusual sight. Across the fields, a small crowd of aliens was gathering. They were not hostile, Their movements were cautious, respectful, and at the front was the small alien child standing proudly. Behind it, dozens of other aliens appeared, older siblings, elders, and some protective figures. Ethan's stomach sank. There were many of them. Was he in danger? Before he could react, the small child ran toward him. It held out its hands, not threatening, just inviting. Ethan took a step forward slowly, showing he meant no harm. Then the alien child spoke in a musical voice, its tone strange but understandable thanks to the translation device he always carried. "These are my friends," it said. "They want to meet the human who played." The humans in the colony watched in awe as hundreds of Zarvathians approached. They were unlike anything the human records described. Tall, muscular, covered in protective scales, with eyes that glimmered like precious gems. But there was no aggression in their movements. Instead, they seemed curious, respectful, and cautious. Ethan's heart raced. He remembered his father's words about kindness and courage. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Hello," he said, his voice steady. "I'm Ethan, I'm your friend." The alien child's eyes shone brighter. It ran ahead, introducing Ethan to the warriors in small gestures, musical chirps, and subtle movements. Ethan realized that the child had convinced them that he meant no harm. Over the next few hours, Ethan interacted with the aliens. They communicated slowly, carefully, but there was understanding. They shared small artifacts, strange glowing stones, and intricate toys. Ethan showed them Earth toys, simple things like spinning tops, small balls, and wooden puzzles. The children laughed, and even the warriors seemed intrigued by the ingenuity of these human inventions. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. This was more than curiosity. It was respect. The Zarvathians were fierce warriors, feared across their planet, yet here they were, taking time to understand a human child. As the suns began to set again, the alien child pulled Ethan aside. It pointed toward the distant mountains. Ethan tilted his head. "Tomorrow," it said in its musical tone, "more friends will come. They want to see the human who gave kindness." Ethan's heart leapt. He had no idea what to expect, but he felt ready. He knew that sometimes courage wasn't about fighting monsters or surviving harsh weather. It was about opening your heart, even when you didn't know the outcome. That night, Ethan lay in his small quarters, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the day. He imagined hundreds of Zarvathians marching across the fields. He imagined playing with the small alien child, showing them toys, telling stories, and maybe, just maybe, changing the way two worlds saw each other. Ethan fell asleep with a smile on his face, unaware that the next day would bring an event unlike anything the human colony had ever seen. A single act of kindness, a simple spinning top, had started something much bigger than him, bigger than any human. It was the beginning of a friendship that could unite humans and Zarvathians in ways no one had thought possible. The next morning, Ethan woke to a strange sound that made his heart pound. It was not the usual hum of the colony or the wind brushing through the metallic buildings. It was heavier, deeper, and rhythmic, like the synchronized steps of 1,000 feet. He ran to the window and froze. Across the open fields, hundreds of Zarvathians were marching in formation. Their armor glinted in the sunlight, their weapons strapped but held respectfully. The human colony had never seen anything like it. Ethan's first thought was fear. 500 warriors? What could they want? But then he saw the small alien child running ahead, waving its arms, chirping in its musical tone. They were not here to attack. They were here to meet him. Ethan rushed outside, keeping his hands visible to show no threat. His mother and father followed cautiously, along with other colonists whispering anxiously. The crowd of aliens stopped a few meters from the humans. Ethan stepped forward, and the small child ran to him, holding his hand and guiding him forward. "These are my friends," the child said through the translator. "They came because of you." The warriors stood tall, silent, their eyes observing Ethan carefully. He could feel their power, their strength, but also their discipline. They didn't act like wild beasts. They were controlled, organized, and aware of their surroundings. For a moment, Ethan felt small and insignificant, but he reminded himself that courage was not about size or strength. It was about heart. Ethan bowed slightly, a gesture he had seen humans use to show respect. The warriors responded in their own way, lowering their weapons slightly, acknowledging him. The small child chirped joyfully and ran ahead, introducing Ethan to groups of warriors. Each group performed small demonstrations. not as a threat but to show their skills and abilities. Some showed agility, leaping over obstacles with ease. Others demonstrated strength, lifting heavy logs or moving massive stones with precision. Ethan watched in awe. "You see," the small child said, "these are the protectors of my world. They are fierce, but they understand friendship." The colonists were nervous but fascinated. For months they had feared the Zarvathians, thinking of them as violent natives who could attack at any moment. But here they were, hundreds of warriors showing discipline, curiosity, and respect. Ethan realized that his small act of kindness, the spinning top, had bridged the gap between two species. Over the next few hours, Ethan led the humans and the Zarvathians in small activities. He showed them earth toys, spinning tops, small balls, and puzzles. The children among the warriors tried them out, laughing and making musical sounds that were full of joy. Some of the adult warriors even tried to spin the tops, and when they succeeded, they shared amused chirps with each other. In return, the Zarvathians shared their knowledge. They showed humans how to build simple protective structures using the rocks and metals of Zarvath 9. They taught survival techniques in the alien forests, showing which plants were safe to touch and which creatures were harmless if left alone. Ethan listened carefully, learning faster than any adult. He understood that humans could adapt, and with allies like these warriors, they could survive and thrive on this alien world. As the day went on, Ethan noticed something remarkable. The humans and the Zarvathians, once divided by fear and mistrust, were beginning to cooperate. They exchanged ideas, shared stories, and even laughed together. It was a small community forming, built on trust, curiosity, and the simple desire to connect. Then, as the twin suns began to descend, a sudden challenge arose. A pack of wild, enormous creatures, predators from the forests, approached the colony. The humans panicked, unsure of how to defend themselves. Ethan froze, but the small alien child squeezed his hand and chirped. The warriors moved immediately, forming a protective wall between the humans and the creatures. Their armor clanged as they shifted positions, and their weapons glimmered with energy. But they did not attack recklessly. They drove the creatures away with controlled movements, showing the humans that strength could be disciplined and precise. Ethan watched, amazed, as the Zarvathians protected not only themselves but the humans as well. When the danger passed, the humans cheered, but Ethan remained thoughtful. He realized that this moment had changed everything. Humans and Zarvathians could coexist not as enemies but as allies. The small alien child had taught him that even the smallest acts of kindness could have enormous consequences. Later, the warriors gathered around Ethan. The leader, a tall Zarvathian with deep purple scales and eyes like molten gold, stepped forward. "Human child," he said through the translator, "your actions are brave. You have shown respect and courage." "We trust you," Ethan bowed. "Thank you," he said. "I only wanted to be a friend." The leader nodded. "Friendship is stronger than fear. You have reminded us that humans can be more than visitors on this planet. You can be allies, protectors, and companions." Over the next days, the humans and Zarvathians worked together to strengthen the colony. The warriors helped build better homes, secure food sources, and train humans in survival techniques. Ethan became a symbol of cooperation, a reminder that one small act of kindness could change the hearts of hundreds. The small alien child stayed by Ethan's side at all times, showing him new areas of the forest, teaching him about plants and creatures, and playing games. The two children became inseparable, their friendship inspiring both humans and Zarvathians. As the weeks passed, the human colony grew stronger. Trade with nearby alien settlements became possible, thanks to the warriors' guidance. Humans learned to navigate the dangerous terrain, and Zarvathians learned to appreciate the ingenuity and creativity of humans. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned a deep violet, Ethan sat with the small alien child on a hill overlooking the colony. The warriors were patrolling, their figures strong and imposing, yet calm and disciplined. The child spun the red and yellow top that Ethan had first given it, and they both laughed as it danced across the rock. "You brought them here," Ethan said softly. "All of them." The child tilted its head, glowing faintly. "Your heart is different. You are brave and you care. That is why they came." Ethan smiled, realizing the truth of the words. Courage and kindness were not measured by strength or size. They were measured by the willingness to act, to reach out, to care for others, even when the outcome was uncertain. That night, as Ethan returned to his quarters, He looked out at the settlement, feeling proud. The humans were no longer alone, and the Zarvathians were no longer strangers. Two worlds had begun to connect, all because a young human boy had offered a simple toy to a lonely alien child. In the following days, the alliance continued to grow. Humans and Zarvathians trained together, played together, and shared knowledge. The warriors, once feared as fierce protectors of their world, became mentors and friends. The colony thrived, no longer just surviving but learning to flourish on Zarvath 9. Ethan knew that he had changed the course of history for both species. A single act of kindness had created trust, friendship, and unity. He looked at the small alien child, now smiling broadly, and whispered, "We did it, my friend." The child chirped, a sound full of happiness, agreement, and pride. Together they had shown that even in a world full of danger and fear, courage, kindness, and empathy could bring about a future where humans and aliens could stand side by side. The suns disappeared below the mountains, casting long shadows over the fields. But for the first time, Ethan felt no fear. Instead, he felt hope for friendship, hope for understanding, and hope for the future of two worlds that had learned to care for each other. And as the colony slept under the twin moons of Zarvath 9, the small child held Ethan's hand, reminding him that even the smallest gesture, a simple toy, a kind heart, could inspire 500 fierce warriors to protect, respect, and embrace a new friend. From that day forward, humans and Zarvathians shared their lives, their knowledge, and their hearts, and all it had taken was the courage of a young boy who reached out with kindness, proving that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or power, but in empathy, bravery, and the willingness to make friends where others saw only fear.